ability.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Bell, and I'm the head coach for a number of FIRST Robotics teams. And I'm going to be doing a presentation today about how to start a FIRST team during COVID-19. And I'll be focusing mainly on FIRST Lego League, Junior, FIRST Lego League teams, although FIRST has done some changes. So my first slide is introduction to who I am, and I just wanted to let you know a little bit about who I am and about me. I've been a coach. I'm founder and head coach of 10 FIRST teams. We have 3 FIRST Lego League junior teams, 5 FIRST Lego League teams, and 1 FTC team and 1 FRC team. And I've been a coach since the 2011 and 2012 season. And post-COVID, or now in COVID, we're not going to be running as many teams, obviously, because it's a little bit unsafe, but that's what we've done before. So there's been some new changes to FIRST in the 2020-2021 season. So there really isn't a FIRST Lego League junior teams per se. FIRST has changed it to FIRST Lego League Discover, which is for pre-K to grade 1. They've had FIRST Lego League Explorer, which is formerly FIRST Lego League Junior or Junior FIRST Lego League. And then they have the FIRST Lego League Challenge. So as you can see, now FIRST has added the FIRST Lego League Discover, which is for pre-K grade 1. And they will use the Lego Duplo bricks. The FIRST Lego League Explorer will use, just like FIRST Lego League Junior did, a 11 by 11 plate, as well as the Lego Education We Do T.0 kit. And then the FIRST Lego League Challenge is the same, where you can register your team and use the Lego Mindstorm EV3 to compete. I also, as you know, coach the FTC and the FRC. So one of the things that I usually do is I have my FTC teams and my FRC teams mentor the FLL and the FLL junior teams. So if you're interested in starting FIRST Lego League teams, I would say you can still have an FRC team as well as the FTC team, and then put the students to work. What I've discovered over the last several years is that the younger kids learn better when the older kids are teaching them, because they feel that they are, I guess, closer in age than they are to us adult mentors. And so if they see that the older kids can do it, then they feel they can do it. So it's really good to have your team members actually mentor the teams, and then they both get to learn a lot from it. So now with the FIRST Lego League teams and the FIRST Lego League junior teams, so for example, with FIRST Lego League Discover, it looks like FIRST is adding that as a classroom pack. So that would be a teacher who would have to do that. If you are a teacher and you have access to preschool students, then that would be something you might want to consider setting up or starting. The team registration for the FIRST Lego League Explorer is $99 plus money for the We Do 2.0 equipment. The team registration for the FIRST Lego League is $225 plus the $75 field, which is a total of $300. And then you probably are going to want some additional parts, because unless you have a Lego Mindstorm and the parts to build the robot, you're going to need to spend more money to actually run a FIRST Lego League team. So at a minimum, it'll be $300. And then I would say a We Do 2.0, a We Do Lego Mindstorm kit could run you, if you buy it at the Lego store, and it's at the store, probably about $300 to $400. If you buy it through the link from your registration page, because it's a competition kit, it's going to be more like $450, $500. So that's what it would probably cost for to start a FIRST Lego League team. However, you can also go on eBay and look to see if you can get a Lego Mindstorm to use that if you want to keep your costs down. You just have to make sure that it works. And or you can also reach out to some teams and see if anybody has any extra equipment to donate. So there are different ranges depending on what equipment you have or don't have will determine the price of the FLL Discover or the FLL Explorer or the FLL Challenge teams. But at least you know the range is probably going to be between 100 to probably 1,000. If you get a brand new competitive FLL kit. Now, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask the questions during the presentation. Now, COVID. COVID, the coronavirus, has done a game changer to all of us, and we all know that. But what I can say is that if you go to the FIRST website, FIRST actually has resources to tell you things that you can do for FIRST at Home. It's actually called FIRST at Home. And so if you're interested in learning some things that you can do a Google search and type in FIRST at Home. And they actually have a workshop in terms of exercises that you can do at home. So one of the examples that I can give you that they do is that we all know FIRST is about FIRST core values. That's one of the most important things that I teach to my students or team members is about the core values of FIRST. And so you can actually start by going to that website, learning the core values, and probably doing some exercises online. So the core values are discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, fun. And you can talk to the students online about what those core values mean. And you can ask them to give you examples. And so that's one of the things that you can start off talking about why you don't have any equipment. Because it's so many things that they can learn, particularly if they're on lockdown with COVID, in terms of what kind of values can we impart during this process. So I would strongly recommend that you go to FIRST's website and look at FIRST at Home to get some ideas in terms of how to run a team while during COVID. Now, if you decide you want to mentor FLL or FLL junior type teams, where can you get students to start teams? So pre-COVID. In pre-COVID, what my team did is we're a community team. And what we would do is actually go out into the community. We usually have at least one event in the community, one per month, at least one per month. So we were able to pick up students through our community outreach. The other way is that every June we partnered with our local public library and we ran a free summer camp for underprivileged youth. And we were able to get a lot of students to join our teams from the program, the summer camp that we ran at the library. So pre-COVID, that's what we did. Obviously, now post-COVID, we can't do that. Our library is actually closed. So obviously, we can't have any type of camps at the library. But what you can do, for example, especially since FIRST started the FIRST Lego League Discovery for the preschool, is a lot of teachers are looking to have some type of extracurricular activities, some type of classroom activities for their students, and they're not familiar or don't know what to do. You can reach out to some of the local preschools and say, hey, we're a team. We would be willing to help you start this, and we would be able to mentor your students at a distance. If you feel up to it, maybe one of the high school students would even be willing to go in one day. I'm not saying you should do that, but it's something where you can be an assistant to a classroom or a teacher to get them started on both the FLL Discovery program as well as the FLL Explorer program. So the same thing. Some of the schools are in session, so you can reach out to them and say, hey, if you're interested in this activity, we have these students and we can help you start it and we can mentor. That's another way. Now, the challenges might be getting the equipment, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The other thing you can do is reach out to your superintendent or reach out to some of the local public schools and say, hey, we have a robotics team. We're looking to mentor some of your students. Do you have any students who you think might be interested in STEM? My son, who was one of the reasons why I started this team, when he was in his second grade teacher actually told me he would be a great candidate for STEM. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had no idea what STEM was. I'm like, what is STEM? And once I found out, that's kind of why we started that. So I would say there are some teachers, first and second grade teachers, who may realize that there's some students in their class that may have an affinity to participating in STEM. And if that's the case, then you may say, hey, well, if you have these students, we have these high school students who'd be willing to mentor them while we're in COVID. And then you can put together some type of program so that those kids who are in second and third grade that have an affinity to STEM can have some type of program. So those are some of the things that you can do to acquire students to start teams. So now, here's the challenge. Where can you acquire equipment, particularly if you don't have a budget? One of the things that you can do, which is a great thing that community teams we often have to do, and it's a little challenging now through COVID, but it's still something that can be done, is raise funds. As a community team, we're a nonprofit, so we have to actually raise money to support our teams. And one thing, you can charge a fee. You can say to parents, hey, we'd be willing to run this activity, and this is the fee it's going to cost, and the fee will cover the equipment. That's one way you can get money for an equipment. Two, you can say, hey, we're going to start these teams or do some mentoring for some teams, and we need to raise money to purchase the equipment. And of course, you need to put a budget together for that and decide how much it's going to cost. And so that's why you need to see what equipment you need to do, so you know how much money you need to raise to acquire that equipment, particularly if you want to offer it to low income individuals who won't be able to afford to purchase the equipment, because it can be quite, Legos is not cheap. The other thing you can do is purchase some things at the Lego store. Again, if you have a budget or if you can get a grant, you can just buy the Lego Mindstorm kit for First Lego League, for example, at the Lego store, or you can buy it from the Lego store online. Another thing where you can buy it, which sometimes I buy the equipment, particularly for the younger groups, is at the secondhand store. We have a local secondhand store where people donate their Legos there. And so I'll go in, they have like bags of Legos, and I'll buy it so that our First Lego League Junior and our First Lego League teams can use that. So that's another great place where you can get Legos inexpensively. And sometimes I just outright buy Legos. I go to Walmart and buy a bin of Legos if I'm low on Legos. So there's definitely places where you can get the equipment. The challenging equipment that's going to be a little bit more costly is the Lego Mindstorm and the technical pieces that you normally get in a Mindstorm kit, and the Lego We Do 2.0 kit. And that's where you might want to do some fundraising, or you might want to let the school, like if you are able to partner with one of these preschools, they might be willing and have it in their budget because they don't know about it, but they would be willing to have high school students mentor, even if it's through Zoom or Discord, their students. They may have a budget that they can purchase that equipment. With the Duplos for the Discover, again, you can go to Walmart, Target, you can purchase it there, you can purchase it at the Lego store, or you can, again, go to a secondhand store. Now, what can coaches, mentors do versus team members? Normally, what I would say is coaches and mentors, what I usually do is I usually try to be one of the initial contact persons, because I'm the adult. And so sometimes, unfortunately, it's a little bit more credible when adult contacts another adult. And then once I set it up, then I have my team members, again, as the mentors. And then what we do in our meetings is we discuss, what are we going to do? What kind of exercises can we have? And I think it's really important to have your team members do that. And because I'll tell you this, these kids come up with some amazing ideas about activities that they can teach some of the younger kids versus the ideas that I would come up with. So it's a collective opportunity where we all work together to try to come up with interesting challenges for the students to do. Now, what's great about students participating in the FIRST program is that it's kind of out there for you. So, for example, with the FIRST Lego League, you get an engineering book. You actually get the field, so you know what the missions are. So you don't have to really create too much because FIRST has done it for you. The same thing for FIRST Lego League Explore. FIRST has actually put the materials together for you, so you don't really have to go out on a limb and say, okay, well, what should I do? Well, it's right there for you. What you really may have to brainstorm for is about how do you do core values exercises. Maybe come up with ideas for that just so that the kids can learn how to do that. And I'm sure high school kids can come up with some type of games or fun games that kids can do to learn core values. But in terms of learning what to build, the first Lego League Explorer, just like the first Lego League, they have a challenge. And just like we in FTC and FRC world have a challenge, they have a challenge. And they have to design and build for First Lego League and program a robot to do the missions on the field. So where I have my team members help them out is to brainstorm with them, like, okay, which mission should you do? What order should you do them in? Because they have, just like we have in First Tech Challenge and First Robotics Competition, 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get their missions done. And they have to try to get as many missions done as they can in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So your team members, because they have to, just as we do strategy in FTC world and FRC world, they have to do strategy as well. Like, okay, well, which mission should we do? What order should we do them in? Why should we do them in that order? What makes sense? So those are the type of discussions that can be led by your team members. And what I find is great is when it's led by the team members, it makes them even better when they're competing in their own competitions, because the same questions that are asked for FLL is asked for FTC and FRC. Now with the FLL Explorer, again, it's an 11 by 11 plate. They usually use the We Do 2.0 kit, which has motors. They have to have things moving. But again, it's a challenge. They have to design something with respect to the challenge and build something that has to have motors and move. And so you can discuss that and say, okay, well, why do you want to build this? How is that in with the challenge? And just ask the same relevant, probative questions, and it gets their mind thinking. So again, FIRST has done a lot of the work for you, and you just have to make it fun. And Legos are fun. So that's pretty much it in terms of what you can do to start FIRST Lego League teams in COVID. The most important thing is to be safe, but use technology. And it's so many places that people want to have activities for their kids, and they don't know how to have these type of activities to like start a team or to run a team. And you all can do that just by the knowledge that you have from having participated in either FTC or FRC. And so I suggest that, I give you that you can do it. I'm actually trying to open up to get to the questions, and my screen closed. So if there are any questions that you have, please feel free to ask them. You can email me at frcteam7462@gmail.com or at danburyrobotics@gmail.com. And I will be more than happy to help you or answer your questions and give you additional suggestions in terms of things that you can do to start FIRST teams in COVID. Now, I was focusing on FLL Junior, but I'll talk a little bit before I wrap it up in terms of what you can do to start an FTC and an FRC team. So with respect to that, it's challenging because some schools aren't meeting. Like here where we are in Connecticut, our schools still haven't opened because there was an outbreak. So normally what we would do is our high school students would let other high school students know about our program. We would actually have a table set up in the high school. And this way, the schools usually let us come in, and we usually sit during lunch hour, and the students who are on the team will use their lunch to manage the table and tell other students about us. We usually have our robots out. We usually have videos up in terms so they can see what FIRST is about. We do that for both FTC and FRC. We're actually physically in the schools. Now, of course, we can't do that during COVID, but one of the things you can do is reach out to the administrators of your school and say, hey, look, we have this team, we're interested. Can we send something out through the school's email? Can you attach it? Or, one of the programs that I'm on with my kids is the Parent Square. Can you send that out through Parent Square so parents know that we have this, or can we get it out to students? And then, obviously a lot of the classes are on Google Classroom. Some of the teams are meeting through, Zoom or through Slack or through Google Classroom. We have our meetings. We still post through Slack. Slack is an app where it's a work app, so it's Slack. So you can do work through Slack. You can do work through Google Classroom. So I would say definitely use online resources to have team meetings. It doesn't mean that, oh, COVID hit, we're done, because there's so many things that you can do during COVID. And I would say definitely use those resources. And even with, the high school, if you're looking to recruit students, FIRST has some online platforms that you can do. Like, I know they have a competition running now to create a game. So you can talk to your students and say, hey, do you all want to do that? And some may and some may not. And those that do, then they can participate. And those that don't, you can try to see if there's something else that they want to do. So there, again, even though we are in COVID, there's still a lot of things that you can do to keep the momentum going until we get out of this coronavirus situation. So that completes my presentation. If you should have any questions, again, I can be reached at danburyrobotics@gmail.com or frcteam7462@gmail.com. And I'm Coach Ellen Bell, and thank you for the opportunity, and stay safe.